There is a space where you are all you need, where you are all you want. All there is here. Welcome to the Source Connection, conversations about who we truly are, the possibilities of creation and the new earth we are birthing, with your hosts, Tara Long and Liz B.
Welcome, everyone. Hello. Welcome to another episode of Source Connection. I'm here with my co-host, Liz B, sometimes, and with our very special guest today, Falk Hentschel. But before we start, as always, let's just have a few moments to tune in. However feels good for you to sit or lie wherever you are. And if it feels good to close your eyes, go ahead and do so. And just relax. Just breathe in and out, however your body wants to breathe in and out right now. Feeling that breath. Just move wherever it needs to go and do whatever it needs to do to fully support and nurture you in this moment. Come home to yourself. Come home to yourself. Feel the brightness of you. The fullness, completeness. And let yourself be a blank canvas. Just a blank canvas. What does it feel? Feel the fullness of you in the empty. And feeling the thread that connects us. And the love that connects us all. It's always there, whether we remember or not. Just remember. Taking a few deep breaths in and out. Feeling your body and coming back to this space again.
I could do this for a while.
Yeah, thanks for doing that with us.
Yeah. Can you speak closer to the mic, Tara? I'm having a hard time.
Oh, are you? Okay.
That's good. Thank you.
Thank you for letting me know.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now? Is this good? Okay. So, Falk, welcome to the show. Please tell us about yourself, whatever you'd like, and how you arrived here with us in this now moment.
Wow. Well, I was born in Germany, and ever since I was a little kid, I had the dream of becoming an actor. So that led me, long story, I became a dancer first and then went to the UK and then ended up in LA. sort of went on the path of being an actor, and eventually realized that my dreams needed to be fine-tuned, and I needed to readjust what I really wanted from life. And then I moved to Bend, Oregon, which is where I am now, and connected more with nature, had a family, and continued to act and produce, but like just approach the whole thing from a different, more holistic approach, more honest approach. That's it in a nutshell.
Well, let's talk about honesty for a moment, because that was, I think, what really touched us in the video that you put out, inviting people to a conversation. First of all, you don't see those videos very often. And so that was already like a really beautiful moment of recognition. And then the honesty, you just talked about in such a calm, connected way. And that was really beautiful to witness. So I'd like to ask you, what prompted you to put that video out, and what was going on before that? And you're just like, this is what I'm going to do.
Yeah. It's a really good question, because it was a long time that I've been wanting to put out a video, but didn't, for a long time. I just didn't want to add to the fire.
Yeah.
And maybe I had too much fire in my words and in my feelings about it. And I feel like I never want to put anything out that doesn't help or is healing or adds anything, Yeah. But it came to a point, I think it was the finality of realizing, okay, like we have decided to split society up yet again. And for the first time, I was on, the side of people, groups, whatever you want to call it, that was very much impacted by it, which I kind of also have to say, I kind of dig. I know that sounds weird, but I'm like, I'm a minority, or, I'm on the receiving end of something that feels unpleasant. And it's kind of, nice is the wrong word, but it's like, oh, okay. You watch Aziz Ansari making fun of the unjabbity jabbed, and you're like, oh, okay, that's okay. Yeah, and it was kind of what you said before we started recording. I wanted to put out a beacon more than change anything, or like, I just wanted to sort of go, hey, I'm here. This is how I feel. And if you need support, if you need to just know that there is somebody like you out there, reach out. And for selfish reasons, I was like, I think it's maybe time to build a new community, so I was sort of going, anybody else want to play? Yeah.
How has the response been to that?
Yes. Here, the reason why I'm looking down is the camera blurry?
No, I don't see it blurred on my end.
Not blurry. Okay. It looks soft, like a soft.
Soft, yes.
Exciting.
Very ethereal and like dreamy.
Like angelic.
What was the question? Sorry.
What was the response?
It was really positive. It was very encouraging and surprising. I got hardly any backlash, so to speak. It was mainly people reaching out and saying, thank you so much. I'm going through something. It's nice to know that somebody else is out there. Some people just shared their stories. Some really sad stuff, like a lot of kids with dreams, a lot of like kids. I had a few in the UK that studied acting that told me stories about how some famous casting director, I won't name anyone, said to that person, if you're not vaccinated, like get a new dream.
Oh,
wow. Like really hurtful things. And and then they just kind of sort of thanked me for speaking out, and felt like they had a bit more courage now. It's been lovely.
Yeah, I wouldn't foresee any other response. The energy that came out of that video, your presence, was just very inviting and very warm. And such a, I won't say rare thing these days, but not your usual, broadcast. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. So it wasn't more divisive. It wasn't further divisive. You know, it was just very like, hey guys, let's we're all in this together. Let's do this together.
Yeah.
Right? Because you weren't like, if you are schwaxed, then we don't want you. You know, it wasn't that at all. It was
not at all. Not at all. That's my whole point. This has been my point. You know, this has been before the entire, what's the word for the vid? For the
the experience.
The experience that we've been going through. Way before that, we've been doing the same bullshit, to just say it plainly, as a human race. We've been dividing. We've been saying, you don't get to play. I don't, you know, and that's always been very difficult for me, you know. Like when I got to Hollywood, I was so ready to play with other artists and be, you know, together. And then I was like, oh, there's no such thing. There's like up here, and you got to, you know, you're told you got to climb to get there, and then you have power, and then you maybe get to play with others the way you want. There is no, these are extreme words, I rarely found an environment that was conducive to real connection, real creativity. You know, and I think it's just continuing on. And it's not just Hollywood, it's any business, it's any societal thing that we have. We've just been driven more and more into this weird isolation, you know, and yet under the guise of we got to be one. So it's this weird separation, you know, which then is justified by because we got to be more alike.
Right.
So it's a big mind fuck, you know?
Yes.
Well, let's be alike around certain things that, you know, but other things you're more than welcome to express your, you know, whatever, you know, it's kind of overseeing in the culture, right? It's like, oh, okay. So yeah, if you want to share any more of your experience in Hollywood, insofar as it led you to creating your new project, which is Patronage Films, right? And what you like, whatever kind of led you to that, how you got to that point. And then I want to talk more about that too, because I watched one of your latest videos doing that, which is really cool. So,
it was a progression of, in short, in a nutshell, for anybody that's an actor out there or wants to make it in Hollywood, you'll find there's this idea that you got to become somebody before you can actually really, like I just said, do art. I did that path for a while, and I did my like tentpole movie. Then that didn't go too well in the box office, so I wasn't in power. So then I did another one, and then I did this. Then I did a TV show. Then I became a superhero, and all these things. You know, but really, like, and that's, the agents are like, now you got to do this and you got to do that.
Wow.
And I've done all those things, and I just quickly realized nobody knows what they're doing. They just all think they do, but nobody has a fucking clue what they're doing. Even people that have been at it for a long time, including myself, right?
Yeah.
And I got more and more in my life into energy work, just switching my language on everything just to energy, and to just sort of go, how can I direct my energy to create more consciously and what I want? And that just let me just sort of go, okay, what I actually want is to create really good story that inspires people and touches people in an environment where we're having fun. I wanted to stay a kid. That's really it in a nutshell. I want to be able to stay a kid, run around on a horse with swords and go bang, bang, bang. And,
Yes. Oh, God, yes.
And just, you know, make people feel like some of my favorite movies made me feel. And I wanted to change the way it was done. And then I realized, okay, my chances, or even just wanting to become somebody like Tom Cruise, who probably has the power to influence the entire set. I was like, why don't you just do it yourself? You know? And then I started to write, and I started to produce. And then finally in Bend, Oregon, 10 years after the idea formed, I was speaking to a friend of mine, and one of my main approaches with the company was, we can't have investors. That's where everything starts to go wrong. Because if the money person is the one that we please first, they got to get the money back, and we got to have profits. That's why we now mainly do superhero movies. That's why we do movies only for The Rock, the bigger budget stuff. That's why we have algorithms deciding what the artist is supposed to be inspired by. It used to be that the artist was inspired, the audience then therefore got inspired and started a conversation, and somewhere along it turned into the audience tells the artist what to do because we need to just, we need to sell product. That friend turned out to be somebody very wealthy and somebody very kind and supportive of the community. And he said, all right, let's do it. Here's, what can you start with? I should have asked for more money, but like $150K, let's start there. So he wrote us a check, sort of. It came in chunks. And then I started to assemble the film with what I had and organically, meaning I had a writer write it and I paid the writer to write it. I had certain actors that we had access to. I said, be involved, tell the writer what you actually want to do. We have the story, we have ideas, but you're going to bring it to life. So why don't you start in the beginning? So this more organic process versus saying, here's the script, here's what we got, go hire people. I wanted to kind of, do it more organically. And then I figured out another big thing that was important to us was pay. The pay was always, especially in the indie world, give the artist nothing, throw it all on the screen, which I understand. And a lot of beautiful projects came out of that. But I was like, what if I give the artists everything and treat them really well? And let's hope that they make up for what we don't have in money for the screen. So we figured out a payment system that was in the limit where I said, let's just pay everybody so that they can live and feed their family comfortably for the time that we hire them. Let's pay everybody hourly. So we didn't give a director more than an actor. We didn't give a star more than, a day player. We paid an hourly wage. Based on how many hours you worked on the whole project, you also got back-end participation. If you work in just production, you get 4 points. If you work in pre-production, production, and post, you get 12 points. Because you're in the 3 phases. Because I just wanted a system that was just by like, you give us your time and your gift, you're all the same. There's no.
That's so much.
And it worked. That was the other beautiful thing. It really worked. We got some beautiful people involved. We made a really great product. We had so much fun. It was one of my favorite projects in my career, as the actor, because I got to play, I didn't have to, do the recipe.
Yeah.
And then now we're on to sales, which has been extremely frustrating because we're hitting the next system, right? Like, and we're talking about those things that are very positive. We have a lot of mandates, right? Like the diversity mandate.
Yes.
But it's being used in a way that we didn't have any diversity because we shot in Bend, Oregon. My partner was the other actress. She was pregnant. So therefore she was in that role with me. And you're in Bend, Oregon. And we were turned down by 2 actresses that were of color. So now we can't sell the film that well because we don't hit the mandate.
Wow.
And so it's this weird thing of like, there's some great things that are happening out there, but the way they're being used and manipulated, especially for an artist, I think there should be 0 mandates on artists. If you want to tell a story that's all about Brazilian girls, you shouldn't have to have a man in it or a white boy or an Asian dude, like you do what you want to do, and if you want to be diverse, then I'm going to hire a diverse storyteller, Anyway, long story short, that's it in a nutshell.
Ooh, is that so? Yeah, I mean, what is the film? Are we gonna see that, or we don't know yet?
No, you will see it. We are self-distributing, so it's an
okay, cool.
The film is a body swap comedy for adults. So we were like, let's use something because we were hoping to be successful. Let's use a concept. Let's use something familiar, but let's do an original take on it.
Yeah.
And so we decided. My girl was pregnant 8 months, and so we were like, "Oh, cool, that's great. Like, what if I had to switch bodies with you? Like, that would be insane, right?"
Right.
So we thought that was kind of a fun take. And then a day before we started shooting, we realized that the character that I played was really boring. It was like, it's like cool guy who kind of like is like lives life freely, but nothing really to sink your teeth in as the other actors to play.
Yeah.
So we turned my character into a French gigolo with long curly locks. Runs around in really colorful shorts and a tank top and takes mushrooms, and it's just like, yes, everything is perfect and you are beautiful. You know, it's just like this. And yeah, and then the two of them switch bodies to figure out how to raise this child that is an accident, and to understand each other's world. You know, that was the theme. COVID.
What a beautiful invitation then, because that takes me back to that video where you did, how can we figure each other's world?
Yes.
And that was the invitation for me in that video when I heard you speak. I was like, yes, like, okay, can we talk about this? Yeah. Are we just so collapsed, like internally as individuals, that we can't even have a conversation? Like come on. Yeah. You know, and that when you said that, it just made me think about the video, the original video, when I first came across what you're doing. And I just want to recognize for a moment, you spoke of so many important things. And what really stood out to me was, can we play? Yeah. Like, play is divine. Yeah. We forgot how to play and have fun. Can we play? You talked about inspiration, collaboration, and you talked about a system where everyone benefits. And I think that to me is the seed of what we're creating. We're redefining the ways that we've done things before. And some things worked, right? Some things kind of had a flow to it. Can we learn from that flow and implement it? But can we also do things in a way where everyone feels taken care of, appreciated, participating? Many years ago, a friend of mine did a commercial. She's an actress, and she did a commercial for, I think it was I want to say Danish company. I don't know. It was a production company, European. And she said the production company had about 4 or 6 people. It's very simple. And they all got paid the same. So whatever money that they were making, writing, whatever that they were working. And I remember when she spoke about it, I was like, I feel like that's the future. There's something there. And I don't know if that motto, but something along the lines of what you were speaking, of what I heard, where it was like, wow, that feels life affirming. There isn't this hierarchy, as you were talking about, of power, or if you get to this space, then you get to do this. And then you had the realization of like, oh, I can just do that right now.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting because also what I found when I set this all up and when I was trying to do it, there was so much red tape in our system. You know, I had my own lawyers, basically be like, oh, you want to do profit share for them? Like, they might get in trouble because of the way the tax system is set up if you give them ownership.
Wow.
So I couldn't even do a contract. It was really important for me to set up a contract so that the artist felt like it's real back-end points, not, right. For those of you who don't know this, in Hollywood, they give out what's called net points a lot. But then after accounting, they'll just say, we made no money, so you make nothing, right? And wow. It was really important to me to verbally tell these artists, here is gross receipts, that we get, you will get that much from it. And I had so much trouble setting that up because the system is
not set up for that.
And I interviewed DPs actually. When we were interviewing DP, like one DP was quite outraged about why I'm paying the PA the same amount like him. And all I thought, and I didn't say it, maybe I should have, but I thought, why do you care what they get paid? Is it enough for you? That I get. If you just told me, look, bro, like I got costs, I got this and that. I want people to make as much. I'm not an anti-capitalist.
Yeah.
Like, make millions of dollars, but let's all make millions of dollars if we're doing that, right? And so it was interesting to just sort of see how ingrained we are to do things a certain way, you know.
The hierarchy.
The hierarchy is just it's weird.
And I wonder how differently people, I mean, I know they show up very differently, right? When everybody's it's equal, it's amongst everyone versus like, and then it's such a different environment that's created.
It's like, beautiful, man. I mean, that's the thing, like the transparency of everybody kind of, I don't know if people knew I talked about it constantly, but again, I think people's ears are conditioned to hear and not hear something.
Right.
But everybody got paid the exact same money, so everybody knew it. And there was just this freedom of we're one because we are truly treated the same, you know. I am for, the hierarchy is maybe not the right word, but for example, our director does have final cut. That is a big thing that I promote because he's the one that has to take responsibility for being great or not, you know.
What's that vision, the big vision,
Yeah. And there are, you know, and I'm the big boss just for sake of leadership, to just sort of say also, you know, I got you. It's not your job to have me or have this person or that. It's my job to hold your space. Yeah.
That's
that's a leader.
And then, and also reimagining, as you were saying, like hierarchies and roles, right?
Yeah.
And reinventing the concept of that, because a lot of times when we think about roles, then we have already preconceived notions. This person, this person, that, and can we redefine that and see what's going to work for each project? Maybe, I don't know.
It should, but I think it takes a paradigm shift of how we think as humans, is my guess.
Correct.
You know? And I think that just takes a lot of us and what we're doing here, you know, and each, you know, somebody in business, somebody in sales, somebody in movie business, like whatever it is, to sort of start and give new ways, you know. Because otherwise I just don't see a change, you know.
It's really a fundamental individual process of healing our own insecurities, wounds, whatever that is, so that we show up fully ourselves, all of ourselves embodied, so we're not threatened by someone else and what they're doing and how much they're getting paid, and, you know, all of these things.
Amen. You just spoke on something that is, I think, that's what life is about.
It's like, that's the that's the work where, I mean, that's And I also wanted to just throw in there that Hollywood actually was started. I learned about Mary Pickford just about 1.5 years ago, but she was like the mother of Hollywood in the early 1900s. Mary Pickford.
Mary Pickford?
She started, Charlie Chaplin, and one other, I don't remember, started United Artists, and they were artists for artists. So they actually started United Artists so that, and everybody got, as far as I know, the same wages, and they were making sure the artists were taken care of, and it wasn't this studio, you know, corporate, whatever. It was before, it was the origin of Hollywood, and then it got taken over.
I had no idea.
Yeah, I didn't either until I met someone who enlightened me to this, and I was like, oh my God. So I studied her. She actually did a film about Mary Pickford, who started as a young child actress when the studios were like, everybody would go to the studio and, you know, they were just actors on contract, that sort of thing. And then she actually, but you'd get paid like 10 cents a week or something like that. And she demanded more. She was like, no, that's not enough for anybody. We got to make more money here. So she's like, I want $5 a week or whatever it was. And so then she went out on her own, and, you know, she's incredible, incredible woman. But that's like the foundation, you know, of Hollywood. The roots are actually there. I mean, it was there to begin with. And then it just, you know, became what it became. But
and here you are again tapping into the essence of that. So this is awesome. It's the Renaissance. I guess
it is.
Yeah, it is a Renaissance.
Excited, you know.
Yeah.
Now I'm excited about it. I have to say, like, you speak to me like a month ago or two.
Yeah.
I was exhausted. You know, I was just so tired. I was like, oh man, like maybe I shouldn't. I still sometimes I'm like, this is just too much, I always say this, I'm like, first I wanted to be a Hollywood movie star, which is already impossible. So then I kind of did that to a degree. Now I want to also like change the entire way movies are made. It's like kid, just live with your kid, with your son, ride some horses and do energy work with people,
No, you're a Renaissance disruptor. Here we are.
Yes.
That's why I'm here.
We're the dissonance. Here we are. And I also watched your video about where you said business plans are bullshit. And so would you... I love it. No, I love it. I've always felt that way. So
well, they're lies, I feel like it's very commonly known. I challenge any producer to tell me that, I'm wrong about this. I've made a few business plans when we tried to long time ago get regular investors, and you promise them their money back and then some, and you give them examples of why they should invest. And you do say in the business plan, it's a risk investment.
Yeah.
They know they won't get it back, but you just assemble these strokes of luck, that don't have any correlation to why they were a hit, or you go, hey, well, horror seems to be doing well. And you just kind of like bullshit instead of just sort of going like, look, I don't know what I'm doing. I know how to make a movie. I know how to act. I know how to write. I know how to assemble people, and I know how to put it out there. But whether people will buy it in troves, it's whether you hit a nerve, or that is true now. Now, I think we have created a machinery through social media and everything where you can go, what is everybody talking about? Let's make more of that. Yeah. Which is why we have the comic book, everything I've talked about. Yeah. But if you want to do original content, same with the actor thing, like, well, we have Tom Cruise or Johnny Depp or Channing Tatum or whoever it is that will guarantee. I've worked with Johnny Depp, I've worked with Tom Cruise and Channing Tatum. All three films did not do as they were supposed to. That happens. Like, there's no guarantee. And so I just sort of figured, can I just meet them on a human level? And also, I think you have and this is a personal thing, why invest in something that you don't have any emotional connect, where you just want to make money? And then why movies? Like, invest in, I don't know, something else, but like movies, like invest in it if you want to see like a painting, right? You're commissioning an artist to say, I want to hang up this painting, and I want it to be done under my, umbrella, which is why I'm Patronage Films. That's what I'm offering. I'm like, look, like you will be remembered to be the patron of, on a big budget, 200 people, on a small budget, 20 people that you fed, that you encouraged to tell the story that hopefully you liked and you're proud of, and yeah, you will make money. If we make $1 billion or whatever, you'll get money, but I don't want you to come to me with that as your motivation, because you're just going to screw us over, not the investor specifically, but then we're just starting the system, and now I got to find a star, and I got to tell the story that everybody wants to be hearing about versus what does this beautiful writer want to do or this director.
Yeah, you talked about meeting at a human level, and in the beginning we were talking before we started recording about transparency, and it just seems like that kind of integrity with oneself, it's the playing field that you want to engage from now.
100%.
Yeah, meeting.
It's the transparency to say, I'm uncomfortable with transparency. I'm going through some shit. I don't want to share myself.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
I'm cool with that. Not everybody's on the energy train. And I know it's, I know it's a big thing. Like, if I had my way, I would put everybody through ayahuasca before we shoot. And I would on my table and use my stuff here to just help them open up. But it's not everybody's way. Somebody have different things. I do want to meet on the core level of like vulnerability and honesty, at least.
Yeah, integrity. It's what I keep hearing. As you said, like, even to be able to say, you know what, I need some space to process. I'm not ready to, or I'm going through whatever it is. Yeah. last little part, you're talking about something, but what was coming up for me was, this, whatever we're going through called the COVID experience, I like to say, it's kind of been a great equalizer in a way, because I feel like we're meeting now at a space, the people who really took the opportunity to just dive deeper into themselves through all of this, we're having the opportunity to meet others the same way. And I think the bullshit's been kind of cut in half at least. So when we're meeting, like we're meeting right now, there is this very common space that we're all coming from, even if we have completely different backgrounds and life experiences, but we're all engaged in this integrity, in this vulnerability. And to me, life has become so much more rich because of this.
Yeah.
Even if there's, I don't know, less people around, or, people are not in contact the same way. I don't know, things became more real for me personally. And I wonder how that has played out for you, especially in Hollywood, because it's such an industry of looks and it's make believe in a way, right? So how the...
Yeah, I agree with you. I feel the same way. It was a really painful growing process. And for me personally, it was beautiful, because I would have never made this jump to be like, look, I'm just going to be completely transparent, had Hollywood not shut me out. I'll be really honest with you. If the jab mandate hadn't like kind of made it so that I'm like, I guess I'm screwed, I might as well be myself, I don't know what it would have taken me to feel. I always wanted to feel safe enough before I do it. And it's almost like this era made me feel so raw that I was like, all right, might as well go all the way.
Right.
And yeah, like some people fell away, and I still love all of them, but this time really made you just sort of go, so who's going to actually check in on me? Versus, well, you didn't get this and you're not doing this, so you're a bad person. And we really care about people. I'm like, do you? Because you haven't called me. I just had a kid in the midst of all of this, and I ain't, when I was in that like woe's me phase of I can't work anymore. Yeah. And so the beacon, of speaking your truth and being honest, just formed a whole new group of. I mean, look at this, right? It's just sort of like, okay, here we are. We are doing something new. I have no idea what we're doing here, but we are. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, totally.
I have a feeling, and I have a knowing, but I don't know what exactly we're assembling because it's new.
Exactly. We don't have a roadmap for it yet.
No. Yes. And we don't need one.
We
don't need one, because we've burned naked at the fire, and we're just like, all right, but everything is possible now, so let's do it, right? We don't need to know. We just show up every moment, present, just like we all are here right now. It's so beautiful. It just...
Yeah, it is. It really is. Once you get to it.
It's not, let's not, we're for you guys out there listening, everyone's going to have a different journey to get to this moment. And also every moment may invite you to a deeper awareness of yourself through the challenges and through everything. And so, not to say one has had a harder time than other, but it's just a different experience for everybody. And then, but as Falk just reinstated, once you get to this point, there is a richness and a depth to it that it's almost unexplainable, and it's just so yummy. That's the way I like to describe it, because it's like we don't need to, we just cut through the bullshit and here we are. And it's just this nakedness that is just so arousing, not necessarily erotically, but just in aliveness.
Yeah. It's, it seemed, maybe this is just personal.
Yeah.
But it seemed one big old test of trust and faith. I keep thinking that if you don't have, and I'm not talking about religion only, I'm talking about just what do you believe in?
Mm.
And do you trust that there's something that takes care of you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That for me personally, and I want to specifically say this to the listeners and introduce something else that I've been doing since the beginning of COVID. I facilitate breath work. And I do it completely donation based. So it's one thing where I was like, I never want this to become a business. Hopefully I'll be taken care of like I have been by other things. So I can just do this. You decide what you're worth kind of thing. And what I've noticed is that what I'm doing is I'm just teaching people to trust that they have all the modalities, tools in them. And I'm just, like you said earlier, what did you say? You said reminding people.
Right.
Just reminding people, like, you got this. Like, don't, all the shit you were told that you don't have it and that you're not good enough. That to me is the work that I'm really, really interested in doing, whenever somebody comes. Because once this all hit, like, we were in an RV, we sold everything because we got kicked out of our house. It was too expensive. I hadn't worked. And so it was like, okay. And we just had a kid, our kid was 4 months. And guess what? It was those 6 months in the RV was the most beautiful start for my son's life. We were in nature. We were away from, we were living like kings, as far as experience goes. And I fulfilled many dreams that I thought I needed a lot of money for. And there's a reason I'm telling this story, because I want to give people hope. Then we got back into a house in Bend because we felt called here, but we were like, we can't afford this. I'm not working, Meet a new friend who is very abundant, who lives on a 126-acre property by the river, which I've always dreamt of. Right by where I ride horses, which is the other thing I always dreamt of. And he just made it affordable to us to live here. And it is not because I'm massively successful, like a Brad Pitt is or whatever, and I have the money. It is because I tend to my bullshit and I clean up my energy and I trust, and I'm open to just not, I'd still love to make it in the film industry, but I'd like to make it on my terms and in my film industry. But the universe, or whatever you want to call it, listeners out there, you gotta have a little faith and trust that you're taken care of, including the painful stuff. It's just lessons.
Amen.
That's so beautiful.
That
being just such a beautiful example of being so taken care of.
Yeah.
We never need the word. We're so taken care of.
Always are.
I'm a breath work lover too, so I love that we have that in common. Oh my God, it's
I wanted to ask what you're doing energy wise with people.
Yeah, do the 3-step breath, like stomach, chest, out through the mouth. But honestly, also, that has evolved where I'm like, I think if you just connect to the breath period and you notice that you're not breathing deeply, well, good, you're already healing. You're noticing that you actually have a tight chest, and you just kind of walk people through a very physical experience. I work with medicine. I've grown my own weed, and people that work with I don't give it to people that don't work with it before they come to me. And if I do, I only do that in person. And, I take it very serious if I do something like that. But I love working with plant medicine in combination with that kind of stuff. It's been, and that's also been selfishly some of the best I've ever felt, is being able to do this for people, Something about acting is so self-involved. It's like me, you see me, I'm like, am I out of focus? We're so in love with ourselves, and like, look,
no, it's great.
I love it.
It's lovely. I admit to it. I think it's great. I like seeing myself, and I'm starting to be okay with loving myself. But being in service to others, you get so much out of it. You get so much own healing out of it, Yeah.
Wouldn't be in service when you spoke about self-love and be in service. It's almost like once one realizes their own value, right? You allow yourself to be of service. And what a great,
just by being you,
self-love. Then like, oh, I get to do this. I can because I'm myself.
Yeah.
And so
that's the new paradigm, isn't it?
Mm.
That just by being us, that's the gift, that's the presence, that's the service. In addition to whatever else comes from that. But
crazy how simple it is, but how difficult it is to put into action.
Well, because I think we've been, I want to say conditioned, right? To just fit in a certain system, in a certain machinery that does not really teach us or incentivizes that. And now we're rediscovering, because of all of this collapse, of just really having the courage to look at things and go, oh, this is not working. Maybe even as you said in the beginning, like having the opportunity to be the minority. How does that feel? Yeah. How does it feel to be looked differently or a certain way, or to be accused of something? And I think that's invitation for deep, deep work.
Yes. Well, that's the thing. That is the thing I've always... This has nothing to do with the current era. It's just amplified now. But I've always come from a place of wanting to own everything. And I have doctors as my parents. And one of them is, both of them very holistic. And they've taught me since I was small, basically, like, you create everything. You know, you get cancer, that's your body's way of helping you.
Yes.
You get COVID, that is your body's way of saying you need to be out.
Yep.
You know, what does a hospital do for you? Nobody can get to you. You get your own space, but you don't want it. So it feels like a mean, evil thing. You know, I always thought it fascinating that we view a virus as this like creature that like gets in you and then it just destroys you, you know?
Yeah.
Sharks, you know, you have these little fish that clean and they're parasites, but they also give you something. And I'm like, why are we so incapable to connect? We have viruses in our system, bacteria in our system, that's part of us.
We love that.
You know, and I have no idea what I'm saying right now, but
we know what you're saying.
The mentality of owning everything, even when you are the victim of something terrible, you know? And somebody always said, well, what about your son? Like, if this shit happened to your son and he was maimed by horrible things, I was like, yeah, I will say that was his choice.
Yeah.
Will I grieve? Absolutely.
Of course.
Will I be destroyed? Will I be angry? Will I feel, you know, people confuse, you know, ownership with not feeling and not going through a lot of shit.
Right.
But still, I would say I choose my son. My son chose me. We had a connected experience. This shit happened in order to teach me something. Because what's the point if I believe in anything else?
Right.
Yeah.
You know, that to me is the way forward. If we can get the collective to just sort of go, you know what? You do you. I'm going to actually just take responsibility for every single moment of my life.
Yeah.
I think that's where we then can go to the next level, you know.
And where freedom really lies is that ownership, ultimate ownership.
Full responsibility.
Yeah.
Which is full responsibility,
Yeah.
As a German, are you familiar with German New Medicine?
Tell me more about it.
I'll tell you more after, but because I don't know. Yeah, but I've been always, when I was moving here to the States, I wanted to learn how to speak German. And everyone said, why are you going to the States? I said, I know how to speak English. There's always a connection there. My sister was a flight attendant for a while, and then she went to Germany and she said, everyone looks like mom here. Like, we definitely have ancestry here. And I find myself now in this complete, like, I've fallen in love with German New Medicine, and I'm like, okay, there's something there. It hasn't completely like resolved for me what it is, but there's something in my, you know, path, and something just connected out. As you talked about, if we can take ownership, if the cancer happens, if this happens, right? Which is a completely different paradigm than what we're used to. Like we're victims of these viruses and these germs and these things, and they come to attack us. It's a really warm model of life. And I think that that's how we get captured, because then there's that triangle, right? The victim, the savior. Yeah, it's just a completely different paradigm from that. And it's really free and just like, yeah, totally, to me, it just feels like deep in me, like, yeah, that this is it.
Well, the German medicine in general, I don't know, when you say new medicine, I don't know what it is, but I think the German medicine for a while has been moving towards looking at there were a lot, let's put it this way, there's a bigger percentage of doctors looking at the patient and improving the patient versus fighting the disease, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's just in general more of a model that we don't prescribe that much. That's very American. Like my mom always said, she was one of the last, like when I came here and went to general practitioners, they didn't ask whether I was, happily married, unhappily married, it was just like, what's your symptom, blah, blah, blah. Here's your antibiotic, everything,
Everything. Yes, everything.
Whereas my mom, she'll know your parents, your kids, what's going on, stress level. She'll tell you whether you're a depressed person. Like she really gets to know you, and that's not compensated.
Right.
So she makes less money. Same with the jab. She's like, she knows. She said, she's like, listen, I could have quadrupled my income
easily
by just spending a lot of time jabbing people. But that whole thing for her in general is so conflicting because she's like, I don't believe in it. She was more or less forced into getting a vaccine status because she's never seen her grandson. You can't come here without it, and we had to wait. So that was a tangent, but overall, I think Germany, for some reason, maybe because of the trauma that we've caused,
right,
in World War II, maybe energetically, the Germans were a bit more like, how can we improve versus kill?
Right.
Yeah. So, Dr. Hummer, German New Medicine. Yeah, we'll talk more later. I'll share some stuff, see how it resonates.
Feels very well. Yeah, we can talk about it after. But so we'll wrap up the podcast portion. The question, or kind of new wrap up question, is, and I think you probably answered this a lot, but if there's anything else that you'd like to share around anything else you've learned about yourself while you have been exploring whatever truth is for you in these last few years.
I mean, honestly, I've learned that I'm deeply wounded. I've had a very sheltered upbringing. I don't have a lot of trauma that is on the nose. I had no abuse. I'm very privileged, but I'm emotionally deeply wounded is what I learned. And I also learned that I have more than everything to heal those wounds. And I've learned my place in this world to contribute to making this a better experience for myself and others, and to own myself. I'm still working on that. I have a lot of self-worth issues, and that's my current thing, to just sort of be like, just own that you're great.
You're great.
Two lovely ladies. So nice. This was so, I had no idea what to really expect.
Yeah.
And this was beautiful.
Well, thank you so much, Paul, for being here. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, wonderful. And thank everyone for listening. We'll see you next time.
See you next time, guys.
Did you know that the Source Connection has a Patreon page? In this Patreon page, we share tips, practices. We get a little bit more intimate with each other.
Yes, so join us over on our Patreon page if you would like to connect in another way. We hope to see you there.